Hello people, it's me TFR Wilderness and I'm bringing to you a third party review. Now I know recently I said that though these extra reviews I was going to do instead of my KTRTs, I said I was going to knock them on the head because they're getting poor viewing figures, but I haven't stopped doing them altogether. Whenever I get a figure that I feel compelled to review, I will still do reviews, but they're not going to be the norm. I'm just going to do one every now and again when I feel the need to review a figure that I've got that I feel, I want to do a review on. And such is the case with this figure. The reason being I wanted to do a review on this particular figure because I'm getting rid of it soon. I've only just got the thing today and I'm going to be selling it on to somebody else shortly. So I'm not having it for very long, and I just wanted to do a review of it as evidence that I actually had one of these in my possession for a short time. Anyway, so what I've got to show you today is a figure from a box set, a triple pack of figures. And I'm of course referring to this, the Final Victory 3 Mighty Warriors. Now, I ordered this from TF Direct. I got it for a really, really good price because this thing came out not so long ago, and on eBay it goes for quite a high price. I mean, for what it is, it goes for well, with the postage you're talking over £100 for this, and you get three sort of third party-esque figures, which they're all right, but we'll get into that in the review. So anyway, I ordered this from TF Direct. I got it for just under £90 with free shipping. It took a long time to get here, but I'll get into that in my end of month pothole. Anyway, the reason I bought this set was for this guy, for Reckless Combat, or the Huffer mould, because I collect Huffer as a character, but it come bundled with these other two figures, and to be honest, I didn't want these guys. I only wanted this guy, but in order to get this I have to buy all three figures, and one of the figures, the Warpath, War Machine, I've decided I'm going to get rid of him. Well, I'm going to sell him on, rather, because I don't want to keep him because he's all right, but, there are things about him that don't really do it for me. But, the other two are okay. So, yeah, here he is. This is Final Victory FV-1 War Machine, and it is a Masterpiece-esque G1 style Warpath. And here is starting in his tank mode, and as you can see, it's a chunky tank. Now, it comes with a set of instructions, which you get instructions for one figure, two figure, and then three figure. So you get the instructions for all three figures on one sheet of paper. Shame they didn't do them separately, in case, like me, you wanted to split the box set up and sell the figures separately. Yeah. Comes with a trading card, and it's made out of plastic. It's got like a matte sort of well, like a satin finish. It's got a picture of figure on one side, and then on the back it's got like a tech spec thing. So then you got strength, speed, wisdom, power, courage, and defense. And it's got some other pictures of the alt mode. And it also came with a gun, but more on the gun later. Well, in a little while. So here is War Machine's alt mode, and it's a tank. It's a maroon tank, and yeah, it's fine. It's got a rotating turret. It's got a gun that goes up and down a little bit, and that's about all you can say about it. Getting back to the gun, there is a port on here. You can plug the gun in, and you can have him two guns, and yeah, that's that. Now, I know a little bit about tanks. Now, tanks usually, when they have kind of like a Browning 50 caliber machine gun, like the American forces have on top of their tanks, and usually the gun is mounted on top of the tank, so the tank commander can come up out the hatch and just use it to mow down any infantry that happen to be attacking the tank. It's a shame they didn't put a peg up here so you could plug it up there, but it's got one here, so it has got a place it can go in vehicle mode. It's A little bit hollow on one side, but apart from that, it's just a fairly basic moulded gun. And then you've got the tank mode. Now, this is the thing. These figures are they're sort of this company, Final Victory. This is their first product, 3 figures, all based on G1 characters in a sort of masterpiece-esque scale. So they're kind of gunning for the masterpiece market. However, the build quality, design and build quality on these it's a little simplistic. It isn't quite as intricate or involved or G1 accurate as official masterpiece figures, or for instance like high-end third-party masterpiece figures like from Fans Toys or Ocular Max or someone like that. So it's kind of like a budget masterpiece, and the best way I can describe it, I mean, the aesthetic on this one especially, I mean, look at the tank mode. You look at the massive oversized turret on top of this. Now, I've got the G1 here, and you can see, if I sort of bring that up so it's about the same size, you can see how big the turret is on this. It's huge. And this is more kind of, well, this one, if anything, this has got a small turret on it, but the proportions are a bit out in the tank mode. So yeah, there is that. It is loosely based on the American Sheridan tank. This is a little bit more sort of accurate to a Sheridan. It's got a decent amount of weight to it. There's a fair bit of die cast. I mean, the front track pieces are die cast, and the majority of the turret is die cast as well. Now, there are things about the alt mode. And this is the reason why I'm getting rid of this guy. I'm deciding not to keep it. One, like I said, the proportions are a bit off. It's got like a small chassis and a huge turret. So that's one thing. And going back to this whole, the build quality, the design aesthetic and that. I mean, I like to think myself personally that these Final Victory figures are kind of, well, if let's say Fisher-Price, that company that makes toys for toddlers, if Fisher-Price decided to make masterpiece figures, this is exactly the sort of thing you'd get. You'd get something that's not quite intricate or accurate or to a G1 figure, but it's good enough. It's chunky, it's solid. It's fairly easy to transform. Yeah, that's what you'd get. So yeah, I like to think these are like Fisher-Price masterpiece figures. That's just my own personal opinion. But saying that, it's not a bad figure in its own right. So yeah, and one of the main things I don't like about it, main reason I'm getting rid of it, is the tracks. Now, if you look here, you can see the track. It's like a moulded track, and it's like a shallow moulding. It's got the wheels, it's got the tracks, it's got some suspension bits, you can see like the some hull detail behind with rivets, but it's all in one colour, and it's a shallow moulding, and that looks a bit, in my opinion, very cheap and tacky. It just looks like a single moulded piece of plastic. The G1, on the other hand, has actually got separately moulded wheels, and if you look in between, there's gaps in between the wheels, and you can see the hull of the tank behind it, and it's picked the track out separately. So if the G1 can do it and this thing can't, yeah, so that's, in my opinion, that's a mark against it. But that's my own personal opinion. Other people might not be bothered by that, like the guy I'm selling it to, for instance, or he might have an interest in Warpath as a character. I don't know. Something else on the alt mode. It's got these little flaps at the back that you can pull up, and then there's some, I don't know, missile launchers or whatever in the back, so you've got that. One of these, that one's alright. One of these, it's got a bit of moulding flash on the door, so when you open it, it pops off. But that's something. Yeah, so the tank mode, the proportions are a bit off. It's got these slightly odd looking moulded tracks with, I mean, they're decently detailed, but it'd be nice if they'd have picked them out in some paint to make them look a little bit more realistic. But again, that's just me. It's got some few other paint apps on it. It's got some lights and some grills and things, and it's decently heavy. It has got some small wheels on the bottom, so it will roll on a flat surface, sort of. Yeah, so that's that. Now, getting into transformation. Transformation's not too bad. There are a few little sticky bits on it. So let's make a start, shall we? So first of all, you go around the back, and then you start, basically, well actually you sort of pull the arms out, and then you've got this flap which you just sort of fold it up and move it down. Then you can flatten these things out, and then the turret's on like a double hinge. It comes up and folds over like that. Now, this next bit's kind of tricky. To get these shoulder joints into the turret, you've got these sliding pieces on the side of the turret, and they are very tight. Now you see that one slides back nice and easy. This one, it's very tight, and you might need to get a little tool just to get in there to prise it open. There we go. Right, so you slide them back, and then you get these pieces here, and you well actually they're on these little sliding joints. You've got to slide them back. The hinge is on at the bottom. You just slide it back like that, and you push it in there, and there's two little grooves inside, and there's some little pegs on this piece here, and then you stick it in, and then you push this sliding bit forwards again, and you trap it in place. Let's get it lined up. Again, it's these sliding joints, they're very tight. Let's do the one on the other side. Bring that up. That's got it. Right. It's very tight this side. Alright, we'll just leave that for now. Right, so on the arms, pull, actually no, you unclip the track at the back. Again, a lot of tight joints on this thing, and then it's on like a rocking hinge. Pull the arm forwards. Now there's a little panel on the inside. You've got the fist that's folded up into the front. There's a little tab on the front. You sort of bring the fist round, then fold the panel in. Then you fold the track in half on a double hinge, clip it into itself, and then you hinge the piece forward, and then there's a peg in the back, and it plugs in, and that forms one of the arms. And then do the one on the other side, unplug the track, bring out the fist, pull out the arm, put the panel back, fold the track in half, peg it in, and then fold it down. And that's the arms. And then moving on to the legs, unpeg, and then you just slide them out like so, fold them up, make sure that's folded all the way down, and that's pretty much it for the legs. Now we're nearly done. There's one final little bit which is pretty cool on this guy. Now remember the generations Warpath had that awesome little auto morph trick where you pushed the gun barrel in and his head popped up. Well, guess what? This does it as well. Yeah, so the gun barrel slides back into the turret and then pushes the head up. Now you just got this little thing you got to fold up and stick it in behind the head. That holds it in place. And there we have War Machine in robot mode. Transformation's not too bad, especially going in this direction from tank to robot mode. It's probably a little fiddlier going the other way. The worst bit is these sliding panels on the turret, where you slide them back, you put the shoulder joint in, then you sort of, it's got two pegs in it and you trap it in place. They don't slide particularly well. Like I said, one side hasn't slid up, but it's sort of jammed, so I'll free it off in a minute once I've done this review. But anyway, there's a robot mode. Now he can hold his gun. Just put it in his fist, so he can hold his 50 cal in his fist. That's good. There is another extra thing that came with this. In the accessories, you get like a little bag of accessories. There's a little button, a little button, and the only place I could find it fitting is on the end of the gun barrel, because if you push the gun barrel all the way in, you can't get it out. You have to sort of open the turret, stick your finger in the back and push the gun barrel back out, but it sort of fits on the end of the barrel, almost like a muzzle brake, and makes the gun barrel a little longer, and also gives you something to grab when you need to pull the gun barrel back out when you're going back into tank mode. Anyway, so here he is in robot mode, and he's pretty good. Again, like I said, decent amount of weight. You've got die cast on these track pieces down here, so he's got a lot of weight in his feet, so he does stand up reasonably well, but when we get down to the leg articulation, he is a bit awkward, and I'll explain why. So articulation, head sculpt, bit stiff, but it moves backwards and moves from side to side. Shoulder goes all the way around, goes up to there. It's got squeaky bicep swivels, elbows that go to over 90 degrees. Doesn't have any wrist swivels, mainly because of the transformation. Now, when I first transformed this, waist joint was ridiculously tight, and I thought, oh, it hasn't got a waist joint, but I could feel it was moving a little bit, and I didn't want to force it in case I broke it, because obviously I'm selling it. But it does have these little flaps. Well, it's got the flap on the back which you can lift up, and I have loosened the screws a little bit, and I've managed to free up the waist joint, and you can hear there's like a little notch in the middle. But you know, it has got a waist joint, but it was ridiculously stiff, and you know, you've got the two screws in the back, you just loosen them up, and then it takes the tension off, and then you can sort of work it backwards and forwards, get it moving, and now it's still tight, but it does move, so it has got a waist joint. Hips, the full Van Damme, got little flaps that you can lift up, so you can go forwards so far, backwards so far. It's got like the thigh swivel in the upper thigh swivel in the hip joint. Knees don't quite go to 90 degrees. And then the feet. Now it has got ankle tilt, but obviously you've got this armour piece which flips up, which is part of the leg, and it breaks up the mould a little bit. And then the feet themselves, you look at the side of the feet. I mean, he's got wheels on there, but he's got, because this is a tank, it's got what's called a lower glacis plate, which is like an angled plate of armour which sort of angles upwards towards the front of the tank. And because he's got that, you know, he when you put him on the ground, he's like standing on his heels, so to speak. I mean, he's got die cast in his feet, so he's relatively stable, but it just means that sometimes it's a bit fidgety, you know, posing him, because of, you know, he isn't flat-footed on the ground. But aside from that, he's not a bad little figure actually. He's pretty decent. I mean, let's do a quick size comparison. I thought, well, seeing as he's supposed to be a masterpiece, I've got Masterpiece Sunstreaker as a size comparison. So yeah, he's a reasonable size. He's bigger than a Deluxe, a bit smaller than a Voyager, and he's not a bad little figure. The only drawback, like I said, is they come as part of a pack of 3. So you also get the Brawn and the Huffer. Now, I wanted it for this guy because I collect Huffers, so I had to have it for this guy. And this guy, again, he was an extra figure in the pack that I didn't really care about, but I've decided to keep him because of this alt mode. I mean, look. It's a Series 3 Land Rover Defender 90, isn't it? It is. It's pretty well detailed. Horrendous panel former though. This thing, it's awful. Really hard to get all the panels to line up, and these panels in the back still don't fold in. There's no back bumper on it, but apart from that, it's a fairly flawless alt mode, and I really like the fact that it's a short wheelbase Land Rover. That's really cool. So yeah. War Machine. Like I said, I'm going to be selling him shortly. I wanted to do a review, so I've got proof that I own this thing for a short while before I moved it on. Not a bad figure, decent weight, reasonable build quality. It looks like the G1 Warpath. It does suits that G1 aesthetic, but because these guys, this company isn't going for toon accuracy all out. They're doing something that's somewhere near, and they are fairly cheap build quality. They're not bad build quality, but they're not built as well as a proper masterpiece or a third party figure. They're going for that budget masterpiece sort of sector, if there is such a thing. That's what they're gunning for. Be interesting to see what else they come up with. If these guys are gonna do some more figures in the near future, we'll have to wait and see. For their first effort, it's not too bad. It's just a shame they came as a triple pack. If they'd have sold these guys separately for about, sort of 45, 50 quid, then I reckon they probably would have sold a bit better than what they have. But, over 100 quid to buy the triple pack and get it shipped from overseas, it's a bit of a heavy pill to swallow, especially if you only want it for one figure. So yeah, that's been my review of Final Victory FV-1 War Machine. Their take on a I've got to push that back in. Their take on a G1 style Warpath. He's not bad. He's pretty good. But is he worth shelling out over 100 quid to get the full set just to buy this figure? Don't know. That depends on you. I mean, like I said, I shelled out just so as I could get this guy, and hopefully by selling this I'm going to offset some of that cost. But there we go. I've been TFR Wilderness. This has been a sort of like an impromptu third-party review. Like I said, I'm not going to do them as a thing on my channel regular. I'm just going to do them as and when I feel the need, and I felt the need to review this guy today. So hope you've enjoyed this review. KTRTs have been ordered. They'll hopefully be in a couple of weeks' time, so look forward to those. And with that said, I will bid you adieu and catch you all next time. Ta-da.